What platform should you be using on social media? Should you get a new camera or should you get a new microphone? Should you hire an editor or edit yourself? Should you get some help from a social media marketing agency or should you manage your socials on your own? In this next part of our conversation, we jump into a hot seat with Coach Lenny V, fitness trainer and entrepreneur. And we get to ask him a whole bunch of questions that you're going to want to know the answers to. I actually have a bit of a hot seat. Okay, teleprompters, yes or no?
For long form content, yes. For like a 45-minute lean bulk masterclass, yes. But for a 30-second clip, nah.
So I guess practicality overall, right?
So yeah, I mean, just big out. You can memorize stuff. You can learn lines pretty well for a 30-second minute clip. But if you're trying to film something for like, close to an hour, yeah, you definitely need something to go with that teleprompter. But like, because I grew up like, I didn't grow up being in musicals, but I did a musical once in my life when I was like 18 years old.
Okay.
And I had to memorize so many lines, so I know what we're capable of in terms of remembering stuff. So that's actually been pretty useful as of late. I'm like, yes, I read it. But if I just say it a few times out loud, I can get better at the way I'm delivering it. Don't have to be looking, my eyes don't have to be like this. I can actually be like normal. And it just the more like genuine you can be with it, the better I feel. Whereas before I was like trying to read and then my eyes are doing these ones and like, it doesn't look good.
I feel like it also helps with keeping the message authentic. I feel like the way that we write and the way that we speak is a little bit different. I write very formal because from 4 years of university and communications and political science and history, I learned to write very formal. In fact, a lot of my friends tell me like too formal. It's like if it feels like I'm either pissed off or being really serious, but I'm not. But when you speak, it kind of allows you to improvise as well. And if you're a professional or a master in your own niche, in your own business, leveraging that definitely helps, right? To improvise.
Definitely, for sure.
All right, so new microphone or new camera? Which one would you go for?
I'm pretty content with my setup at the moment just because I'm not utilizing my camera's best settings as it is now, so I don't know what a better camera is going to do. And then in terms of better microphone, I'm pretty happy with my DJI microphone. I don't think there's many, maybe there is a better one on the market, but I honestly just think it's down to how you use it and the settings you have and optimizing those settings. So, I'd go with
let's
that.
Say you had a shit one. You have a shit camera, you have a shit microphone. Which one would you upgrade first?
Camera. Just because.
Do you find that audio has a more of an impact, or which one do you think?
I feel like audio from audio, because you can do as long as you have an iPhone or something solid like that. Then audio. I would actually take that back because I do stuff in supermarkets, stuff in the gym with my iPhone, and that works fine. So I'd probably go audio on that one.
I don't mean to sway your answer. It's just when you maybe or maybe not download a movie, and the audio is crap. It's just so much more harder to watch, even if it's like a recording from a movie theater. But even if it's a recording from a movie theater and have good audio, I can at least watch it myself. I just can't stand bad audio, especially like in reels. Like you did the one about protein, right? Like which protein should you buy? You can hear yourself really well. But I've seen some videos where people are explaining something and it's like what was that? I can almost hear like their environment more than the person. So it makes me just kind of like swipe away and like I don't want to watch that.
No, so fair. I think definitely. But then also the same, because that's what I was thinking of. If I'm watching again my Premier League that I watch football, and if it's buffering, if it's like grainy and it's on like 360p, I'm like, oh, this is the worst. I get so frustrated with the bad Wi-Fi. I'm like, oh. So I think, as long as you've got visibly, you can see it clearly, and then the audio would make more sense in terms of being able to hear it.
Fair, yeah, I agree. Okay, natural light or artificial lighting for your videos?
Good question, because I feel like natural light is much better, but it's dependent on the weather. This is the most annoying thing about Sydney, is that the weather is so bipolar. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get. Whereas in Mexico, you know it's going to be sunny. you know in October, in September it's going to be stormy. Like, you know what to expect. You don't have to always check the weather forecast. Whereas here, it's a bit trickier. So even during this podcast, I can see that at times it's hitting, 0, but then it's hitting sometimes 0.7. It's going a bit brighter at times. So it can be a little bit up and down, but for a cleaner look, I feel like the natural light definitely works better. But if you can get your settings in a studio where you've got like artificial light, it can also look pretty clean, which I've done multiple times, which I do many times with my stuff.
Yeah, I definitely have to do it now because it's getting dark outside. So I got my 2 studio lights to light up the whole room, and it makes it look like daytime kind of, but out the window it's getting dark. But yeah, I think a mix of both. I love natural light, but also like direct sunlight could be very harsh.
Yeah.
So cloudy days are always great, right? To be able to aesthetically look aesthetic, right?
Yeah, it depends on the day.
Changing weather makes it hard.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Okay, for microphones, lavalier mic, so one of those clip-on mics you put on your shirt, or a shotgun mic, the microphones that go on the camera. Which one would you pick?
I've never used a shotgun mic, so I'm actually yet to kind of really play around with that too much. But I know the lavalier clip-on, they're so easy and they're so good. And you can, if you're doing some sort of fitness challenge where you're running about, you're going a bit further away, you can still, it's going to pick you up. So for what I do, I haven't really, unless I'm just doing a vlog, then there's no real need for me to be having a shotgun mic. For what I do in the gym and stuff, it's just easier having a clip-on.
Definitely. Yeah, they're very, very practical, and they make them so good now. Like I have I guess like a higher end professional clip-on mic, but it's got the wire that goes down onto the transmitter, and then the receiver that goes on the camera is a little bit bulkier, but it can withstand longer distances and weather and whatnot. But the little clip-on ones, they make them so good now. You can even record, I'm not sure if in yours or not, but you can even record in the newer ones onto the microphone itself, which is really, really good as a backup.
Yeah, exactly. This is something I've recently started playing around with because we filmed something the other day. We were running around a field and you could just hear the Bluetooth disconnecting at one point. And they're like, it's annoying. And then I was like, we can actually just record into the mic. And I was like, the next video. So we lost that. Lost the video, lost the sound in that one, but it'll be all right. Just put a song over the top. No one will notice.
Hire an editor or do the editing yourself / learn the editing yourself.
I would get some, I wouldn't do it myself. There's no way I'd go through that whole process myself. It's just doubling the amount of time that you're going to do it. I'm lucky that my business partner is doing the editing with me. So that kind of frees up a lot of my time. If I didn't have him, I would 100% get an editor. 100%. Just going to be, you're going to have, you can learn it pretty good. Like I've edited plenty of stuff. I edit my YouTube videos, but I just know how time consuming it is. So if you're like just starting out and you've got zero money, then probably do it yourself for a bit. But then once you start getting some clients in the doors and you've actually got money to pay someone else, then go for it. You're going to save so much more time to be able to work on your business more rather than working in it. So 100% get someone where you can delegate and outsource, do so, because it's going to give you way more time to do what you should be doing.
100%, man. In my last podcast, I was having a chat with my friend who's a filmmaker, and he had a really good point that actually that made a lot of sense. And I've actually, now that I think about it, it reflects with clients that I've worked with. But having knowledge of editing your content, even if it's just a few videos, is very beneficial, because it'll help you create better videos, especially if you're going to give those to an editor. I've worked with clients that have never done the editing themselves, so they have no idea. Like maybe they'll click the stop record button too early, or they'll start talking and then click the record button, or their exposure or their framing is crap. And those are kind of things that you don't really think about from a practical standpoint when you're filming. But when you finally sit down, and that's the material you got, is the material you got when you're recording. When you sit down in the editing room and you're like, all right, let's make something with it. And you're like, my microphone is out of sync. My footage is blown out. I started recording too early or too late. And that's kind of like when you start realizing those things. And so I think having like a little bit of experience, a tiny bit, is super beneficial if you're going to hire someone, because it's going to make your content so much better. When you do give it to an editor, they're just going to have better content to edit.
For sure.
Right? Because there's a two sides to the content. Editing it is basically the filming it and then the editing itself.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so this next one we kind of touched on earlier from your experience, but planning your content yourself or hiring an agency?
Again, I think it depends on where you are in your career. If you're just starting out, maybe you don't have the funds to do so. So, like when I started traveling the worldwide, you got a handful of clients to really have that disposable income then to the revenue coming in to then pay people to do it for you. So I learned how to do it myself. And as a consequence, I think that has then helped in terms of me being able to identify who I'm talking to, my clients, my niche a bit more. But then, as soon as you have that freedom, that flexibility in your schedule, not even in your schedule, in your bank balance and your business bank revenue, to then outsource that, again, like the more you can outsource, the more time you're going to have in your business. So I would 100% at the start, learning yourself, learning what you're about, what your business is about. Because ultimately, if I outsource it from the very get-go, whether I'd be to this day talking about my niche being 25 to 35-year-old men, I don't know. Maybe they would have said, oh, you're going to be working with 40-year-old women. I was like, well, it's not really me. And so it depends on, but I think establishing that initially and knowing who you're talking to and what you're about. And then once you're at a point, once you've got some money to actually spend on people, then for sure, outsource that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the editing thing that we talked about. Maybe like at the beginning, it's not maybe, but for sure, it's good to do it yourself. That way you can kind of find your voice. If anything, maybe like finding some coaching and guidance to help you be in the right headspace to figure stuff out. But yeah, definitely at some point, it just becomes a lot of work and there's a business to run, right?
Exactly.
All right, I have one more hot seat question. What is your favorite platform to share content on and why?
YouTube. I feel like
YouTube.
It's a longer format. Yes, the editing process is a lot more difficult and takes more time. But the algorithms are good on YouTube. Like as long as you get a good thumbnail, like the thumbnails and titles become way more important. But because once they click on that and they start watching you, and then if they like you, there's way more chance they're going to keep watching you. Whereas if they find you entertaining for a 20-second clip, I mean, they still don't really know anything about you apart from one thing that you might have provided value within that 20 seconds. So
right,
YouTube is pretty extraordinary in terms of what it allows people to kind of really know more about you, gain that trust, that long form media. But when I've been looking at like travel vlogs and stuff recently of people, And I honestly, I just yawn, and I just like, this is so boring. So many people's stuff. I'm like, yeah, you got 1 million views, but that's only because you're creating value in terms of what you're showing, but you're boring as heck. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm probably a little bit of the opposite right now. I'm trying to provide more value, but I'm like, I think at least like my content's a bit more like entertaining, and I'm just trying to be like one of the lads. But instead of this like proper like, this is how you should do it, and this is very like, I don't want to be like that robotic. I think it's boring. So I feel like, yeah, YouTube, you can just put across a lot more personality to it and be authentic. Whereas I think for Reels, they're still good because they're quicker and they're easier, and you can stand out from the crowd pretty easily as well by doing good hooks. But I think that you've also almost got to portray a certain version of yourself, a certain character within yourself. So, at the start when I did that, I was very like, try to be very professional and upright, but it wasn't getting anywhere, especially being under a business brand. But then now I'm slowly learning to become myself within it, but it's still much harder to do so than a longer format. Even just speaking it in the podcast like this, if someone listens to this and they think, oh, I know Lenny much better now, and I just know what he's about, who he is, much more than his Instagram. Like everyone's Instagram is just your highlights, and you're just trying to get attention real quick. But podcasts, you can really go behind the scenes and actually learn about the person and what they stand for, who they are, what they do, and everything like that. So definitely the longer form media, and I think YouTube is just that perfect mixture of entertaining and providing value. So yeah, YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. I really agree with you. The short form platforms tend to be more curated, and therefore,
Scripted.
like a little bit of a performance kind of put on, not intentionally, but also intentionally at the same time, because you only have like a 3-second window to captivate an audience, right? So you are trying to put out your best work, but YouTube, you get to be a little bit more of yourself, which is good. I actually had a couple more questions I missed here, but 3 pieces of equipment to jumpstart your online presence. What are the 3 essentials?
Tripod, a good tripod. I've mucked around with a flimsy, shitty one in the past. Go get yourself
Keyword good.
a good tripod, like one that actually can hold your phone. It's not going to lose pieces, and it's not like just shitty plasticky. You still get a plastic one that's good, but yeah, when it doesn't like screw in properly and it always goes down. Oh, I've mucked around with that for way too long, and then it just makes, when you don't have the right gear, making content just becomes that much more difficult. So having a good tripod that you can actually just fold up, get out real quick, film something. Microphone, like a DJI Rode, like clippable microphone on you, the portable one. And can I say something that's not a camera? Because the camera is not that essential. But what else? What other bits of gear would I use? A ring light. A light. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got one that's backlighting me now. But lamps are also good. If you've got natural light, then awesome. But you'll find times where maybe there is no natural light. So definitely having something there is good. And as I said, yes, a camera can be good, and it's definitely worthwhile to get. But a lot of the time, your iPhone is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Definitely lighting, audio, and a tripod. Especially a good one, like you said. You don't want to be putting your $1,500 iPhone on something that's gonna blow over and break it.
Oh man, I've had the first one that I got was so bad, and then the second one I got was a proper camera one, but I didn't have a camera yet, so I was had to get this attachable mount. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I had to get an attachable thing. But then the attachable thing was flimsy, and I just finally got myself a good tripod last week. A good adjustable one, and it's just made it so much easier to film stuff. My God.
Oh yeah.
My God.
Thank you so much for watching. If you found this conversation valuable, appreciate it if you can click the subscribe button, the like button, and that bell notification so you don't miss out on the next ones. Peace.